Okay, another short video on one of my new inventions. I'm building a pump bracket assembly to go with a fuel kit that I create on a regular basis, and I'm producing these now fairly steadily, maybe 10 a month or so. So on average, I'm trying to produce them when I do them, in batches of 50 at a time to make it more effective. And so what I have is just a plate of aluminum. There's 6 holes in this one, 3 holes in this one, and the 2 are just going to get welded together like that to make up the final bracket. Pretty simple thing, but drilling the holes, which I've been doing over here on the mill, can be tedious, time-consuming drilling. I've had this punch over here. This is an 18 position rotary punch for a number of years, and I've used it periodically to just do a couple holes on some things, but never in any serious production fashion. It didn't have a table on it, and that was sort of one of the reasons that I haven't been able to use it in a production sort of way. So what I've done now, most recently here, I created this table, built this a couple of weeks ago with the intent of now using this punch to do production work. The top of the table, I set it to have 2 holes that are 9 inches apart this direction here. The table itself is 12 inches wide overall and maybe about 6 inches deep going back. But what's important is that the 2 holes being 9 inches apart, and I'll show you why that's important to know in a minute. And then if you drew a line between the centers of the holes from this one to this one, and then came off that line and went to the center of the punches in here, that's exactly 4 inches. So now I have some known measurements in there that I can make templates to create production parts or do production runs of parts off of. So let's show you the first template here. I'm going to bring the camera up and looking down from the top here, sort of a view. Here's the first template. The templates have pegs on the bottom. The light is tough with this aluminum. And those pegs are set 9 inches apart, so they pop right down into the holes on the table. That locks the bracket in there, or the template in there, real tight on top of the table. Let's see if we can get a little bit more on top of this thing. And so now what I can do is create these brackets very, very quickly. So you can see I have some writing on here. This is the pump bracket. The red lines here, I'm going to use number 8 punch, and the black lines, I'm going to use number 6 punch. So I will grab a fresh piece of stock. Now this aluminum, this plate right here, 6 inches by 9 3/8 inches. I have it sheared at the metal supplier, so the guesswork is just how tight the tolerances are for 6 inches wide versus 9 3/8 long. I measured them. They're pretty much true on the 6. They're closer to 9 and 7/16 on the long leg. So what I grab is a couple of dowel pins. These are 1/4 inch dowel pins, and I'll just pop them into the holes right along the black line right there. And that gives me my first hole to punch. I'm on number 6 right here. The black line says to use number 6. I just lay myself into the corner on that first hole. Let me bring the camera around, or I'm going to whack it with the punch handle. Okay, so knock that hole out. Slide the pin over, 1 and 2. Slide into that corner, and then make sure your pins are in there and knock that hole out. There's the first set of holes in the center. Now we want to come onto the red line, so we're going to move our pins down onto the red line. And for the red line, we know we're going to use punch number 8. So come around, punch number 8. We grab the plate, come back in. Check my camera here, make sure you guys can see what I got going on. It just, the handle of the punch keeps whacking the camera. Okay, punch that hole. That's the corner holes. That's where a pair of U-bolts go. On this one, I flip the plate around. Okay, and I punch that one. Now again, I talked about the true dimension of the plate being 9 3/8. So technically, I could just flip to do the other corners this way. But if the plate isn't of the proper length, exactly 9 3/8, which this one isn't, my center holes where my U-bolts will go, this corner to this corner, won't quite line up, and I'll be stretching or trying to shrink that U-bolt to get in there. So to make sure my holes are true where I want them to be, I continue along the red line. Let me pull the camera back a little bit so you can see. I continue along the red line, and now by flipping the plate, or running the plate down to that. This will give me exactly 8 3/8 between the centers of these holes, stretched out at the corners, so I know that my U-bolts will fit in there perfectly every single time. Go ahead, realign this. One of the dowel pins fell. Put that guy back in. Tuck myself back into the corner. Punch him out. Now you can see, even I'm just doing demonstration on the camera here, on the video, and that's much quicker certainly than trying to drill all those holes. Let's grab a tape measure real quick. Now you can see I'm in with a tape measure. It's going to be hard to tell, right? But between the centers here, let's use the edge of the tape so it looks better. 8 3/8. That's the U-bolt size, so that's perfect for there. Coming this direction, I don't care. The U-bolts go from long way to long way. One U-bolt there, one down here. So the distance between them this way doesn't matter. The pump mounts in these two holes right here. These are 2.5 inches apart on each other. You can see center to center. They're 2.5, and they're set at about 4 3/4 inches down on the plate. If you can see that there. So now with this template mechanism in the punch, I can knock these out very, very quickly now. And so what I will do is, for a production run purpose, we would just set up the first hole to be punched, which would be this guy, and I just run all 50 plates, boom, 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 on that one hole, get all those holes done, then shift myself to the next position, rerun all the plates through again, punch the next hole, etc. Set it up on the red line for the first punched hole, do all 50 plates, and then slide down to the next hole on the red line until I complete them all. So I have another bracket, or another template I made as well. This one right here, this does the filter base, which is this smaller piece of steel. It punches these 3 holes right here. So with what we just did, I think you can see how I just slide this around. I knock out the first hole, boom, the second hole, and then back over here catches the third hole, and that gives me these 1, 2, 3 patterns right here, which hold the bases for the filter assembly that goes on this pump package. So that's it. Just real quick, wanted to show that I am now finally using this tool, this punch that I've had for, as I say, several years now, but just haven't got around to using it yet. So there it is. That's the latest and greatest invention here in the Fugazzotto household.